and welcome. My name is Alan, and we are back with more things that we need to do if we want a better fucking country. Now, last episode we talked about how there is supposed ethics codes, though they have no teeth. They don't really push on anything. They have no real enforcement. So yeah. Here we're going to look at how wealth has just dug its way in to government. In particular in our executive department, under which the presidency and his cabinet exist. As you know, or may not, I don't know how much of my videos you actually do watch, but let's re-explain it to you all. The president or president-to-be picks people he wants to run certain departments under the government, under the purview of the executive department. The originals were the Department of War, which it had been since renamed Department of Defense. You might as well have kept it Department of War. It seems like all we do is insert ourselves into another little conflicts here or there. Department of State, the Department of Justice. I want to say there's one more when the first president came to be. War, Justice, State, Treasury, I think, was the fourth. Yeah. Alexander Hamilton was the original Department of the Treasury head, so. Anyway. These departments are supposed to watch over certain aspects of the government for the people. But, as I'm going to show, there's been such an infestation of the wealthy into the freaking cabinet instead of people who are in, study for these kind of things. Your professors, economists, stuff like that. People who's what they do is they study that stuff. They understand that stuff, and they're not just rich people looking to make themselves richer. That's not what we do anymore. We're just like, let's get another rich person to run this department. But we're starting off here. This is a chart. Who had the wealthiest cabinet? The first initial cabinets of the first term of each of these presidents. George W. Bush's initial cabinet was $351,500,000 in total wealth. Obama's initial cabinet, $67,200,000 in initial wealth. Trump's initial cabinet during his first term, $2,331,000,000 in initial wealth. Yeah. And you look at the four richest members of each one of these president's initial cabinets. Rumsfeld at $151.9 million for your Department of Defense under W, $21.5 million for Hillary Clinton for the Department of State under Obama, and Betsy DeVos at $1.1 billion under Donald Trump for the Department of Education. Now, they want to list this, although I kind of wish they would list others. Trump selected his ministers with an eye on former entrepreneurial successes. Shortly after the election, he said, "I want people who made a fortune." His richest cabinet members, Secretary of Education Betsy DeVos, Secretary of Commerce Wilbur Ross, made a fortune reconstructing imbalanced companies, ranked second on the list. However, Trump did not succeed in building the wealthiest U.S. cabinet in history in Obama's second term, which, again, good, list it. But why don't you list everybody else's? Please, if you're just going to pick one, it's kind of slanted. But, yeah, Obama's second term, he selected Penny Pritzker, heiress of the Hyatt Hotel empire, as Secretary of Commerce. Her $2.2 billion was worth almost as big as Trump's whole first cabinet's monetary assets. So, yeah. So, yeah, list them, please. But if you're going to do that, let's put the whole fucking thing in there. I want that information. I want that stuff. Put it in there. Let's leave fucking facts bare, baby. Show them all. Now, from the Wall Street Journal, Biden's wealthiest cabinet officials, Zients, Lander, and Rice top the list. If you want to look at who the current president had among his wealthiest cabinet members. Coronavirus response coordinator Jeffrey Zients, science advisor Eric Lander, and domestic policy advisor Susan Rice were among Biden's wealthiest cabinet members and senior aides. So, yeah. And two of them were public administration officials, while one was cabinet. Then anybody else listed here as cabinet members. And they show their total worth as far as an actual cabinet member. Lander 45.5, but then it goes down 8.6, 8.1, 3.9, 4 million, 4.5 million. Then we start getting into the single millions, 1.1, 1.7, 1.3 down here for Vilsack. But then you get some that's actually not even a million. Haynes, 996,000. Thomas Greenfield, 691,000. Buttigieg, 670,000. So, yeah. just to look at some of those that were under the Biden administration. But we know how expensive the first Trump administration was, and it's looking like this one's going to be even more wealthy, perhaps the wealthiest in government history. So, yeah. Trump's billionaire cabinet, this is from the first term, could be the wealthiest administration ever. They were saying that then about the first one. Opponents from warned the administration is set to be packed with tycoons who will do nothing to fulfill his promise of helping working class Americans. Well, it's looking like it's going to be even worse this time around. The appetizers were young garlic soup and with thyme and sautéed frog's legs, diver scallops and caramelized cauliflower and caper raisin emulsion. Donald Trump ate a prime sirloin with citrus glazed carrots. Mitt Romney chose lamb chops with a mushroom bolognese sauce. At Jean Georges, a 3-star Michelin restaurant in Trump International Hotel in New York, it's a Richmond's World where the U.S. President-elect feels at home. This has been evident of his appointment so far, as the so-called blue-collar billionaire looks to preside over the wealthiest administration in modern history. Trump, former host of The Apprentice, is surrounding himself with the 1%, billionaires and millionaires, investment bankers and capitalists, Wall Street insiders and family fortunaires, many educated at elite schools. It is the most brazen embrace of big money since the 1980s era of Ronald Reagan, Tom Wolfe's Master of the Universe, and Oliver Stone's Gordon Gekko. Yeah. But they're talking about the previous. Now, let's start looking at who he has in this term. The new team, this from BBC, the new team entrusted with delivering Trump's agenda is taking shape with several contentious hires in his proposed administration. Ahead of the return to the White House, President-elect has named Pete Hegseth, a Fox News host and military veteran, as his pick for Defense Secretary. He wants Robert F. Kennedy to be the Health and Human Services Secretary. Marco Rubio could be the next Secretary of State. And billionaire supporter Elon Musk will play a role in cost cutting. There's a closer look at the post, here is a closer look at the post he has named the replacements for and the names in the mix of the top jobs yet to be filled. Nominees still need to be confirmed by the Senate, but these are the ones he suggested. Marco Rubio as Secretary of State, Scott Bessent, George Soros's old money man, for the Treasury, Pete Hegseth for Secretary of Defense, Pam Bondi as Attorney General, Doug Burgum as Secretary of the Interior, Brooke Rollins as Secretary of Agriculture, Howard Lutnick as Secretary of the Commerce, Lori Chavez de Raymer as Secretary of Labor, Health and Human Services is RFK Jr. Housing and Urban Development, he wants Scott Turner. Secretary of Transportation, he wants Sean Duffy. Secretary of Energy, Chris Wright. Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon. Secretary of Veterans Affairs, Doug Collins. And Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem. We get a quick look at each of them. Rubio, 53, takes a hawkish view of China. Opposed Trump in the 2016 Republican primary, but has since mended fences. And he has long been courting the job of the nation's top diplomat, and if approved, he will be the first Latino Secretary of State in U.S. history. Pete Hegseth, his appointment is one of the most highly anticipated in Trump's cabinet as the wars in Ukraine and Gaza rage on. Nobody fights harder for the troops. Oh, hold on, let me say it properly. Nobody fights harder for the troops. After Hegseth's appointment, it emerged that he was investigated in 2017 for an alleged sexual assault. He was never arrested or charged and then denies the allegation. Of course he fucking does. His lawyer also confirmed that he had paid a woman in the same year to stay quiet about an assault claim that he feared would cost him his job at Fox. Again, he denied any wrongdoing. Pam Bondi. She came in after Gates withdrew his consideration. Gates denied all the sexual assault claims on him and everything, and said he wanted to avoid a needlessly protracted Washington scuffle. 6 hours after Gates withdrew, Trump named Pam Bondi, former Florida Attorney General, as his successor. She was a prosecutor for nearly 20 years, blah, 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 where she was very tough on violent criminals, blah, 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 blah. Bondi served during Trump's first administration as a member of the Opioid and Drug Abuse Commission. Burgum, former governor of North Dakota, software entrepreneur who sold his small company to Microsoft in 2001. So you know he made big bucks off that. RFK, lunatic and anti-vaxxer and all this shit, and they want him to be in charge of it. Food and Drug Administration, Dr. Marty Makary. I don't care what Trump says. I want to see who he is. Makary is a Johns Hopkins University professor, author, and surgeon, and he is a trained cancer specialist. He spoke to conservative media outlets during the COVID-19 pandemic, questioning the need, oh God, he's an anti-masker, and expressing concerns over the vaccine. Oh God, he's one of these stupid fucks. I was going to be like, hey, great, he's a professor. No, he's one of these dumbasses. He's one of these dumb fucking sons of bitches. Doug Collins, former Georgia congressman, Trump loyalist, who served in Congress 2013, 2021, Iraq war veteran who now serves as a chaplain in the U.S. Air Force Reserve. dog killer Christy Nome. So, what they want her for? FEMA? Homeland Security. Yeah. Customs and Border Protection and FEMA are under Homeland Security. Ugh. Sean Duffy, former congressman and Fox Business host for Department of Transportation, take charge of aviation, automotive, rail, transit, and other transportation policies. Uh, do, 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 do. Face a number of safety-related aviation issues, such as the problems at Boeing, and then, of course, there was the issue on the railroads, East Palestine. Energy Secretary Chris Wright. Oil and gas industry executive will lead the Department of Energy, where he's expected to do as Trump wants. Drill, baby, drill. That's who you do not need as Department of Energy. Fucking oil and gas shit stain. Commerce, Howard Lutnick, co-chair of Trump's transition team and chief executive of the financial firm Cantor Fitzgerald, spearhead the administration's tariff and trade agenda. He's also been running for Treasury Secretary in more high-profile role. Linda McMahon, co-founder of the WWE. I don't know if she's co-founder, because the WWE started out as WWE. It was sold to Vince McMahon from his father, so it had already been in existence. She may be a co-owner, but co-founder, don't know about that. And Trump transition co-chair, longtime Trump ally. She led the Small Business Administration during Trump's first presidency, donated millions of dollars to the presidential campaign, and Trump criticized the Department of Education and has promised to close the agency down, a job McMahon could be tasked with. In his statement, I don't give a shit what he wants. He's a dumbass, Trump is. You can't read his shit and take anything of sense from it. Let's see. Scott Bessent has been nominated to lead the U.S. Treasury Department, a post with wide oversight of tax policy, public debt. He's a Wall Street financier who once worked for liberal billionaire George Soros. Labor Secretary. It oversees worker health and safety, workforce laws, and administers unemployment and workers' comp. She has been serving the U.S. Congress since 2023, but lost a re-election bid in Oregon in the November election, despite winning strong trade union support. Scott Turner, NFL veteran and motivational speaker. Housing and Urban Development oversees America's housing needs, enforces laws, prevents discrimination, and provides assistance to those in need, although through both low-income housing, blah, blah, blah. Brooke Rollins' most recent job was as co-founder and head of the America First Policy Institute, a MAGA-backed think tank. Other key roles by Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk are tapped to lead Doge. They just put government efficiency, but yeah, it's essentially what it is. Borders are Tom Homan, Environmental Protection Agency Lee Zeldin, UN Ambassador Elise Stefanik, CIA John Ratcliffe, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, Special Envoy to the Middle East Steve Witkoff, Israel Ambassador Mike Huckabee, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, Solicitor General Dean John Sauer, FCC Chair Brendan Carr, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services Dr. Oz, NATO Ambassador Matthew Whitaker, Office of Management and Budget Russell Vaught, Surgeon General Jeanette Neshewat, CDC Director Dave Weldon, Trade Representative Jameson Greer, National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett, FDA Commissioner Marty McCary, U.S. Navy Secretary John Phelan, National Institutes of Health Jay Bachara, Canada Ambassador Pete Hoekstra, Envoy to Ukraine and Russia Keith Kellogg, FBI Director Kash Patel. Oh yay, that psychopath. So more of these lunatics. In positions of power. Psychopaths, each and every one. White House staff. Chief of Staff Susie Wiles. Deputy Chief of Staff, psychopathic Nazi son of a bitch Stephen Miller. Deputy Chief of Staff Dan Scavino, Deputy Chief of Staff James Blair, Deputy Chief of Staff Taylor Budowich, Press Secretary Carolyn Levitt, Communications Director Stephen Chung, Assistant to the President Sergio Gore, Assistant to the President Will Scharf, Assistant to the President Sebastian Gorka, Assistant to the President Alex Wong, and White House Counsel William McGinley. Yeah. Get a small look at each one of who these people are. But let's continue on here. Trump's cabinet, a rundown of all the incoming president's picks. So that's just more showing who each of these people, lunatics, fucking are. This is from the National Review, which is a right-wing site, but I figured try to be somewhat open to adding from both ends. It asks, they're going to be tapped for the job, will probably get the job, but can they do the job? I don't want to see your little thing there, little movie, whatever. Let's see, from U.S. News. All the president's billionaires, the extraordinary wealth in Trump's proposed administration. Altogether, the billionaires tapped for the Trump administration are worth at least $344 billion, a higher than the GDP of 169 countries. Think about this. This is what I'm saying. I showed you early on in the video some of the cabinets of Biden, Obama, Trump's first term. The way he's been setting people up now, it shatters those cabinets' wealth and shows how much their wealth is taking part in our government. People want to say, oh, he drains the swamp. No, he is the swamp. I mean, for Christ's sake, meet the billionaires. Trump himself, apparently, is supposed to be $5.6 billion. Elon Musk, on his own, $332.6 billion, the richest man in the world, on his fucking staff. Enda McMahon, $2.5 billion. Education. I can't remember what Lutnick was supposed to be, but he's $1.5 billion. Vivek Ramaswamy's working with Elon in the same thing, $1.1 billion. Doug Burgum, $1.1 billion. Don't know about Scott Bessent. Commerce was Lutnick. Burgum. Was he Energy? Interior. Department of the Interior. Bessent, undetermined. But yeah, he's a big money manager. And he'll be a financial advisor to Trump. So yeah, he's putting all these billionaires into place, basically shattering every other cabinet there's ever been. True, majority of it's on Elon Musk. But then why are you putting the richest man in the fucking world on your fucking staff? It just shows how sold you are to big money. McMahon, 2.6 billion. Lutnick, 2 billion. Ramaswamy, 1 billion. Bessent, at least 1 billion. Whitcoff, 500 million. Wright 171 million, Burgum 100 million. They had them in several billions up there in the other article. This is Americans for Tax Forgiveness.org. Yeah. Estimated net worth. And then their potential roles. Donations supporting Trump and the Republicans. Yeah. The first cabinet, let's go back and look at the first cabinet of Trump. Just to remind you of who all was in it. And like we said, up to that point, it was one of the richest cabinets and staffs there had ever been. And now he's shattering that with who he's putting in this time. And that's directly from the Senate. Look at the first cabinet again, how long they were there. But anyway, like I'm trying, like I've been pointing out to you all, wealth has dug its way too far into our government. You know, again, if you've ever watched my videos, I say it plenty of times, I am no fan of big wealth when there are people starving, when there are people homeless, when there are people who are put into debt for health care. There should never be a fucking billionaire when that's happening in this fucking country. Ever. Ever. And yet, what do we have happening? These same billionaires are getting put into positions of power. And the last few have been big examples of it in Trump's second cabinet here. His second term cabinet's going to be the biggest there's ever fucking been. As far as wealth and power. Yeah. This kind of cabinet should not exist. We want people who study these things. We want professors. We want economists. People who have dedicated their lives to studying these kinds of things. Because this is what they know. This is what they look at. This is what they do. Billionaires, they don't give a shit. A lot of them are given their money, do little to nothing to get wealthier. Seriously. Yeah. It shouldn't happen. But look at where we are. It is the swamp. I know a lot of people cry, oh, he's going to drain the swamp. He didn't. And he's only filling it up worse. And again, Democrats, Biden's not great. Obama had Pritzker in his cabinet. But Trump's just blowing it out of the fucking water with these billionaires and millionaires. These loyalists and sycophants. If we want to make this country better, we need the right people in those positions, not those just trying to make it easier for them to make a buck. That's not what it should ever fucking be for. Ever. But yeah, I just wanted to show you how wealth has sunk its tendrils into our nation by going even into the uppermost echelons of government power. And that's including the members of government in their positions as actual elected officials. We have a number of them that are millionaires and billionaires. Mitt Romney, big time, big money. Georgia had, who was it? Perdue and Loeffler, that was their senators until Ossoff and Warnock beat them. They, Loeffler and Perdue, were big money people. Yeah. So we've got the wealthy getting in by being elected in, and other wealthy getting into other parts and jobs of power so they can make themselves richer. Yeah. He's not exactly a man of the people, but a lot of the fucking other former presidents of the last 40 some years haven't been either. I mean, fucking Christ's sakes. Last one I could probably say that was actually a man of the people, Jimmy Carter. Sucked as a president, but was a man of the people. Humble peanut farmer. Christian that stayed true to his ideology. He just sucked as a president. But he was truly a man of the people. Reagan and onward, though, these haven't been men of the people. I mean, honestly. We have so many billionaires, millionaires, high level people. Uh, we need to block people of wealth from getting in, or at least make it as hard for them to get into positions of power as it is for an average American. Because honestly, what we need is more average Americans. You know, people who are actually willing to work for the people. Most of these assholes who get in there are just not good at all. But yeah, again, just wanted to talk about wealth and the tendrils that sunk into Americans' government and society. Even though you think it wouldn't be that way with the way wealth inequality is in this nation. But no, it's those with power and wealth who are in positions of power in as far as the government and stuff goes. And that needs to end. We need to give this government back to the people, the average American. So yeah. Anyway, as always, educate thyself, think, read, study, learn. Someone tells you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. I'll be putting these links and sources in the description box below the video. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, later.